So, like I said, we're going to use a paint stick, and we're going to wrap the paint stick with the sandpaper. Now, this sandpaper that I'm using is 600 grit, and the sandpaper that we use all the time here at the shop is Sunmite sandpaper. One, I love the consistency of Sunmite sandpaper, and this is 600 grit. 600 grit sandpaper. So wrap it up on the stick as tight as you can get it, and this is aggressive. This is an aggressive piece of sandpaper. If you're doing this for a customer, and I hope you're here to learn how to do this, make sure that you go over the dangers of going through when you're speaking to the customer. If you're ever trying to do this on a brand new car, it's very, very dangerous because you don't have a lot of paint on a new car. You don't have a lot of top coat clear. You would never want to start with 600 grit sandpaper. We've got a fat enough ripple in this car that I'm hoping somebody just put a thick coat of clear on here and did not spend the time to properly color sand and polish. And that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to go through the process of properly color sanding and polishing with 600 grit. So we're going to go to camera 2. Okay, we've got a little different angle here, and we've got the thick ripple right inside of here, right where the quarter panel kind of comes down. And that's a beautiful line, and we want to accentuate that line as much as possible. I'm using a spray bottle with water. Make sure you wet the sandpaper and wet the area. Now it's just up and down. Use a lot of water. I don't like soap when I'm doing this because I don't want to add any slip to it. I want to feel what I'm doing, but I always use a spray bottle. I don't use a water bucket. I hate water buckets. They're full of dirt. Now let's check it out, see what it looks like. You might be able to see some high and low spots, but what we definitely want is it to be as flat as possible with 600 grit. All right, we're going to go after this part right up here. It's a little bit wavy there, and you can actually see it. Hold your block flat, a lot of water. Make sure you're using a lot of water. That looks a lot better. Now let's see what it looks like dry. Much better, much, much better. Oh yeah, that looks a lot better. Look at how coarse that scratch is too. You can see that low spot right there. See, that's what a block will do. It'll show you the high and low spots. And that, you might think that that doesn't matter, but on a really nice paint job, all of that stuff matters. This is an okay paint job, but what we're gonna have when we get done will be a lot better paint job. And it looks like there's plenty of paint on this car too. So now we're gonna do some buffing on that 600. Before we move on to all the other grits, I just wanna show you how aggressive the CSI polish is, the new XX. Okay, you can see the area that we're going to be doing, and I'll get in tight with the other camera. We're just going to do some spot buffing with this tool. This is called an AirVantage gear-reduced 3-inch air-powered polisher. It has a maximum speed of 3,000 RPM, and it is absolutely impossible to stop when you have the trigger all the way up. You put as much pressure as you want on this tool, and because of these gears in here, you cannot stop this tool. Nothing worse than using an air-powered 3-inch and have it just bog out, bowl, 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 like that. It's useless. When I found this, I thought this was the slickest tool. And we'll have these up on our website too. AirVantage 3-inch gear-reduced polishing tool. And we are going to remove this 600 grit scratch using a wool pad and XX polish. So I'm going to switch cameras right now to the one that's a little bit closer, and we'll go through the process. You can hear the horsepower. This is a serious little tool. So to start, one, we're trying to take out a 600 grit scratch, and I would never say to do that. It's too much work. especially when we have all these fancy sandpapers to take it all the way to 2500 grit like we always say. But just so you can see a 600 grit scratch removed with fairly easy using this 3-inch tool and XX polish. So always put the product on the pad. Put enough there that you're going to have some cutting ability. The wool by itself really won't do any cutting. No matter what people say, it's not the wool that's removing the material. It is the polish or compound. And we say you never ever need compound, and this is why. Because if I can take out a 600 grit scratch, why in the world would I ever damage the paint with compound? So hold it flat. That's real time. Now we're going to wipe it off. Look at that. If I'm doing that much polishing in that quick a time, of course I can take all the scratches out with a wool pad, but why would I want to? I would never ever want to. So let's go over it a little bit more, and then I'm going to get in tighter with a 4K camera. Again, a little bit of product. Okay, I made a little bit of a mess, but I'm trying to, just prove a point here. The product cleans up super easy. Let's wipe it off and see what we have and go to 4K. So you've got a primary section and a secondary section. In the primary section, you can see that the scratches are nearly 100% gone. In the secondary areas, where I was just starting to polish, you can see it made the scratches shiny. But here, we removed those scratches. So let's go to 4K now and see what it looks like. Okay, this is 4K. Let's try and get some, obviously let's try and get it focused. Okay, there's focused, 600 grit. You can see how deep those scratches are. Those are pretty nasty. Then we've got the secondary right here. Got secondary, and then we move into, look at the fluorescent tube. Just look at the fluorescent tube, and I'm going to try to focus it. Okay, there we go. We got focus. Well, it's hard to do. Not only do you have to learn how to do paint and body work and all this other stuff, but now trying to get camera angles to show exactly what we're doing here. Look at the reflection of my hand in there, and then my reflection gets fuzzy as we move over there. So that's pretty neat, huh? 600 grit in just seconds, okay? So now we're gonna go on to blocking this area all the way up to 2500 grit and then buffing it out and see what it looks like. I won't go through all the steps of blocking with 2500 grit. I just want to show you a finished result of this 2x2 area and how much better it will look if we do some color sanding rather than repainting, and the cost difference. So I've got a couple hours here of sanding, and then probably an hour of sanding, and then on to buffing. All right, so this is 600 grit in tight with 4K. You can see how nasty those scratches are. And then you can see how all of those straight line scratches are totally removed. We still have a wool pad mark, but I just wanted to show you that just in a few seconds, with XX, we're totally able to take out a 600 grit scratch fairly easy. And if there was any stray scratches in there, you just go over a little bit more. But looks really good. When I click off the light, let me click that. Can I do that? Well, I'll shoot a video right next to it without the light so you don't see the glare, but that really looks nice. You can see I've got some 600 grit scratches up there, but then they go away, totally gone. Look at how nice that is right there. It's really, really nice. You can see where they come back over here. But we did that real time in just seconds. You've got to have a good tool, something you can put some pressure on. But look at the side angle on that quarter panel. It's beautiful. It really looks nice. This old Chevelle will start to take shape, and we take that fatness out of the paint by blocking with 600. I would never do a whole car in 600 when we have all these nicer sandpapers, these finer sandpapers, and I will work that out. But in this video, I just wanted to show how aggressive XX is with just a wool pad. So you can't see any of the swirl marks on the side angle there, and that's what it'll look like from a foam pad too. But that is just a wool pad. Just a wool pad to remove all of the 600 grit. You don't need compound. Did that fast as you could possibly ever do using a compound, and the cleanup was super easy because we only have one single product. So it just makes life easier. Now let's look at it without the light on. So that's without the light. Look at how beautiful that looks. There's no light. You can still see if we can get it focused, we get the 600 grit scratches focused. But look at how pretty that looks. That looks really, really nice. And you're doing all of that with a wool pad and XX. No need to use compound. No more compound. Just use XX.